Levy, taking charge of the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, how to effectively and efficiently manage. So some background on the Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital. In 1916, a group of Jewish doctors established Beth Israel because they could not find hospitals that would let them practice. The Jewish community built and financed the BI for several decades. The BI was known for its high-class medical academic center and for its quality of care. The nursing staff and doctors were granted extraordinary discretion concerning how much time they spent with patients. The Deaconess Hospital was located down the street from the BI. It was less of an academic medical center because it placed greater emphasis on surgical specialties, but it did deliver a high quality of care to its patients. In the early 90s, the BI and the Deaconess merged to create the Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, the BID. In 96, the BID, the Mount Auburn Hospital, the New England Baptist Hospital, and two others merged, creating the Care Group system. The merger was in response to the Mass General Hospital and the Brigham's merger, which created the Partners healthcare system. Dr. Mitchell Rapkin from the BI stepped in to run the Care Group. Dr. Mitchell Rapkin's strong connection to the BI meant that the BI was given more authority. The merger of the Beth Israel and the Deaconess was a new relationship when the Care Group was established. The Deaconess chiefs in previous leadership were overlooked. A number of physicians left and the Deaconess staff felt second to the BI. The focus of the leadership at the Beth Israel Deaconess, the BID, was misguided and off base. They focused on clinical integration, did a terrible job of implementing on the business side, and started to fail because of lost patient volume and poorly executed contracts with the insurance companies. The financials kept getting worse and worse. Annual losses started going into the double digits. The hospital was failing in all areas. There was hostility and mistrust among the doctors and the business side that wasn't working very well. Jim Rennerstein stepped in as CEO of the Care Group and the BID in 1998. Rennerstein held a 3-day retreat with the Care Group leadership, the medical leadership, and administrative leaders of the 3 other hospitals, as well as the board of directors, to develop a plan to get the Care Group and the hospitals on track. No action came from the summit. A number of consultant firms were brought in to go through the organization and make recommendations. No recommendations were ever implemented. Every 6 to 8 months, the BID would announce a turnaround plan. These plans were never implemented. Those in leadership at the BID were functioning within an odd organizational structure. Ryan was both the CEO of the Care Group and the BID. This dual leadership caused the BID staff to mistrust him. It also caused the other hospitals of the Care Group to wonder where his loyalty was. The president of the BID was completely left out of decisions made by the CEO, the CFO, and the COO. The BID board finally realized that if the BID continued on this course, it would collapse. In the early summer of 2001, Rennerstein was removed from both the Care Group and the BID. Time for change. Levy had been the executive dean for administration at the Harvard Medical School. Meltzer, the chairman of the board of the BID, stepped in as interim CEO of the BID. Meltzer created a steering committee so that he might be able to make some improvements during his time as CEO. Levy was asked to serve on the steering committee. The Hunter Group, a consulting firm, was hired to make recommendations. Levy originally did not think he was qualified for the CEO position, but it quickly became apparent he was a viable contender. Word began to spread that he might be able to turn the hospital around, and the dean of the Harvard Medical School, Levy's boss, gave him his blessing to apply for the position. He had watched the previous leadership of the Care Group and the BID fail over and over. He was well aware and informed of what the problems were at the BID and the Care Group. On January 7, 2002, Levy became the CEO of Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and the voice of reason within the Care Group. Before Levy was even offered the position, he demanded to be in the position of CEO before the first week in January. He wanted to set the stage for his leadership, and he wanted to do it prior to the report from the Hunter Group. Levy knew that the Hunter Group was going to shake the staff, not because the findings recommendations would be so harsh or any kind of a surprise on the staff, but because there was a new CEO coming in that was expected to make big changes to the BID, and he just wanted to have a presence with the staff prior to the Hunter Group the Hunter report coming out. Levy wanted to be there before the report came out to set a precedent for what the transition period was going to be like. Levy also wanted to be there so that the local press would not destroy any credibility the hospital had left. So Levy had 5 major management keys to success that he implemented through his first 6 months as the CEO and president of the BID. He wanted to keep morale high. He wanted to keep public perception as high as possible. People knew the BID was suffering, but he didn't want them to think that the hospital couldn't turn it around and be a viable service to the community and to patients. He knew he needed to instill some kind of fear into the staff. He didn't want to lead with an iron fist, but he wanted them to know that there was a serious problem within the BID and that they needed to get it together. And in a few slides, I'll explain what he used to instill some fear. Inclusion. He wanted the staff to be involved at all moments. He wanted them to know that they could come to him with comments and suggestions and that he would have an open mind. He also wanted to instill strong management qualities among those who should be managing, like the chiefs and the CFO and the COO. Staff communication. Throughout Levy's first 6 months as CEO, he constantly stayed in communication with the BID staff and made sure to keep them aware of what he was doing, what he expects, and how it's going to ensure that the hospital staff stays positive. On January 7th, his first day on the job, he emailed the hospital staff about his arrival, gave them a preliminary plan for moving forward, and instilled some fear which he hoped will help motivate them. He made the Hunter report available to all employees so that they could be informed, and he welcomed comments and suggestions. This established feelings of honesty, openness, and inclusiveness from the staff towards Levy. Prior to releasing the recovery plan to staff, Levy needed to boost morale because 150 employees had been laid off. The recovery plan was what they were going to implement to improve, in hopes to improve the BID. Levy emailed the entire BID staff, reiterating the difficulties in the layoff and reminding the staff of the larger picture. Levy made sure to make time for face-to-face communication with the staff. The recovery plan. He kept the staff informed through the process of devising the plan, but more importantly, he reminded the staff of his confidence in them. Levy knew how to deal with the different personalities throughout the hospital. The nurses and the chiefs needed a bit of special attention through the process. Levy felt the nurses needed to be reminded of how important they are to the hospital structure, especially because at this time there was a nurse shortage. The chiefs believed they deserved to be involved in all that was happening, but the problem with the chiefs was that they did not speak up in group settings. Because of this, Levy knew they needed to be consulted separately, meaning they couldn't be involved in the whole process because they didn't have much to say if they were there. Levy made sure to put the chiefs in their place when they stepped out of line. The chiefs are important to the structure, but they are not management professionals. The chiefs were focused on the academic side of the hospital, not the clinical. This was a problem because the clinical side is what brings in the funds so that the research hospital can function. Chiefs did not view themselves as managers of the doctors who worked within the department that they were required to be in charge of. Levy wanted the chiefs to be responsible for their departments, and that would cause some tension. Public opinion. Levy made sure to keep communications open between he and local news outlets. He wanted to make sure that the hospital didn't lose its reputation of providing a high quality of care to its patients. This was important not only to the patients it was serving, but also to potential patients and joint ventures of the future. Hard truth, the fear that Levy instilled to keep staff, to boost morale in staff, or at least motivate them. Levy was aware of something the hospital staff was not aware of, the potential sale of the hospital. A few days prior to Levy's first day as CEO and president of the BID, the chairman of the BID, the chairman of the care group board, and had informed Levy that the Attorney General was pressuring them to sell the BID to a for-profit institution, and that they were considering it. Levy told the care group board, the BID board, and the Attorney General that they were to table this idea and give him a chance, otherwise he would not step in as CEO and president. Levy believed he could use the potential sale as a means to ensure a highly motivated group of doctors and administrative staff. Prior efforts to improve the financial and organizational problems within the hospital had failed because the doctors and administration did not feel the pressure to change. They saw no reason to fix the situation because they felt like everything was fine. They knew it wasn't, but they had nothing to fear, such as the hospital being sold. The potential sale of the hospital reestablished the significance of the hospital to the individual staff. Levy also knew that the doctors would not like the idea that the hospital would lose its Harvard affiliation, and in turn the doctors would not be considered Harvard professors. Levy put together 5 task force or steering committees to implement the array of changes needed in the recovery plan. He knew he needed to keep these committees small with a broad representation of hospital and department staff. The CFO and the CEO were told they would not partake in the tasks first. This was the first problem with the COO. Levy made sure to keep staff informed through the process and directed them to where they could acquire more information, such as the recovery plan was posted on the website and comments were welcomed to be brought to Levy's attention. Levy made a point to set strong goals and expectations of the chiefs. He felt that first and foremost, they needed to function as leaders of their department. In May, 4 months after Levy took the position as CEO and president of the BID, he fired the COO. The COO had been a problem since the beginning, but Levy wanted to give her a chance to improve. She had undermined his authority. She did not report updates on work being done by the committees, and this really bothered Levy. She did not appear to be a team player, and he knew that it wasn't going to work moving forward with what the hospital was to become. I'm just going to give a little background on what was going on at the same time with Care Group. Levy did take a leadership role in this. He did help guide some decisions. He made some great ideas. I think it speaks more to who he is as a person and not so much as his management abilities within the BID. Levy knew that something had to be done to fix the relationship with Care Group and the 4 hospitals. The hospitals felt the Care Group made poor decisions on their behalf and that the Care Group was not sensitive to the needs of the hospital. Levy also believed that some board members of the Care Group believed the BID should be sold, and this led to more mistrust about day-to-day decisions of the Care Group. Levy proposed that the presidents of the 4 hospitals develop their own management committee to make recommendations to the Care Group on behalf of the hospitals. The hospitals were afraid of the power the Care Group had over the individual hospitals. The Care Group and the hospitals were also trying to devise a plan to deal with the technical default that the Care Group was facing. The Care Group itself was also a mess, and I'd assume that had something to do with the CEO previously also being the CEO of the BID, and he didn't make the best decisions for the BID, so probably not the best decisions for the Care Group either. Deaconess Glover Hospital. In May of 2002, the BID announced the acquisition of the Glover Hospital in Needham. This did a number of good things for the BID. The hospital provides care for a number of wealthy suburbs. This will have a positive effect on the BID as a whole to bring more patients into the larger hospital, and also look good because they'll be servicing a wealthier community who will talk positively about the work being done there. It also shows that the BID is alive and thriving. This is a good sign of what is to come. While this acquisition was happening, Levy was in the process of trying to move forward with a number of other strategic moves. He was in talks with Children's Hospital with potential joint ventures. He did believe this was going to be too costly and didn't believe it would be successful. He was in talks with the Pickle Primary Care Liability Corporation. They're a large primary care physicians group. They service patients south of Boston, and this would be a good joint venture for them to get part of because it would bring in a different area of patients. They were in talks with the Manual about leasing a building to them for dormitory purposes. The BID somehow had acquired a lot of property that they couldn't afford to do anything with, and also really couldn't afford to just let sit when they were facing so many financial problems. So Levy finally got on the ball about at least leasing out some of this property, at least making a little bit of money off of it, or at least paying the bills that it takes to monitor this property. So finally, a good problem. Levy took charge in January, and by June, the problems of the hospital were not financial. They were not a lack of morale or dedication to the hospital, or the fear that the hospital may be sold and become a for-profit. The problem was that the hospital had turned it around, and there was a great need to hire more staff. The results of the first month with Levy as CEO and president of the BID saw financial results better than budgeted, 2 profitable months, cash flow positive, and they were cash flow positive, which had not happened since 1996, so prior to the to the merger of Beth Israel and the Deaconess. So what can be learned from the Beth Israel Deaconess management struggles and victory? So Levy, I think, teaches us a lot. He teaches us to plan and not derail from that plan, to stay on track, not be afraid to take in criticism and accept it, and maybe take it at face value. Set the precedent, lead by example, keep an open dialogue. He stayed in touch with the staff. He let them know what was happening, and he took in their requests, their fears, their concerns, their comments. This is very important. He seemed approachable, and that's very helpful in leading a large organization like the BID. He always took charge. He took charge of what he was doing. He had a solid plan, and he let those around him know that. He understood the task at hand. He had seen what the problems were facing, what problems the BID was facing prior to becoming the CEO and president. So he did have a good idea of what he was getting into, and he still was very positive from the beginning and believed that he could make these changes as long as everyone worked along with him. He set goals and he stuck to them. He didn't just set them for himself. He set them for the hospital as a whole, for the different departments, for the chiefs, for the nurses, for the administrative staff. And that's important. They all had an idea of what they were to do as a whole and what they were to do individually to improve the BID. He had a clear outline of leadership responsibilities. Well, he was at the top. He needed those below him to lead by example as well. He needed them to understand what was expected of them so that everything could function efficiently and effectively. And he did that. He spoke up. He told them what he wanted, what was to be expected, and they knew why they needed to act appropriately and to lead accordingly. What not to do, what we can see from the previous leadership of the BID was they did a lot of backpedaling. They made a lot of decisions that they never implemented, and it's safe to assume that they wasted a lot of time and money on those ideas of possible implementation strategies to improve the BID. They seem to have disregarded the staff. The staff definitely functioned when Levy stepped in independently of the leadership, and that's concerning. You want to reel in your staff. You want to have a solid relationship with them. You want to be someone that they can come to. You don't want to be unapproachable. This case study sets a clear example of what should be done. And I think from that, you know what not to do. You don't want to derail from the plan. You don't want to be afraid of criticism. You want to keep an open dialogue. You don't want to disregard staff. You don't want to ignore the problems at hand. Nothing's magically going to get fixed, and that appeared to be what the previous leadership of the BID assumed was going to happen. Levy stepped in. He knew there were problems. He knew he needed to devise a plan to fix them, to implement it, to keep those around him strong, let them know he believed in them, and he fixed the problem.